In January 2019, WeWork was worth $47 billion. More than Ford, more than Delta Airlines. By November 2023, its entire company was valued at about $44 million. Not billion, million. Roughly 0.1% of its peak. WeWork rented office space. That's it. Desks, Wi-Fi, and free beer. Yet it convinced the smartest money in the world it was a tech company that would change human consciousness. This is the story of how a real business got buried inside a fantasy and how 6 weeks of sunlight destroyed it. Start in 2010, New York City, just after the financial crisis. Office landlords are desperate. Neumann and Miguel McKelvey see the opening. Lease empty floors long-term at crisis prices, slice them into small offices, rent the slices short-term at a markup. It's a real model. It's called office subleasing, and companies like IWG, Regus had done it for decades. Profitably, boringly. But Neumann didn't sell subleasing. He was 6'5", magnetic, barefoot in meetings, and he sold something else entirely: community. WeWork wasn't renting desks. It was, in his words, elevating the world's consciousness. And the timing was perfect. The 2000s were the decade of cheap money. Interest rates near zero. Venture capital desperate for the next Uber. If you could grow fast and call yourself a tech platform, losses didn't matter. By 2017, WeWork was valued at $20 billion. A real estate company priced like a software company. Here's the difference, and it's the crack that eventually swallowed everything. Software scales with almost no extra cost. Office space doesn't. Every new WeWork member required real chairs, real floors, and a real long-term lease that WeWork owed whether that member stayed or left. And then WeWork met the one investor who would pour gasoline on all of it. In 2016, Neumann met Masayoshi's son, Masa, the founder of SoftBank and commander of the largest tech fund ever raised, the $100 billion Vision Fund. The famous story: Masa toured WeWork for about 12 minutes, then sketched an investment deal in a car ride. His advice to Neumann, reportedly, was that he wasn't being crazy enough. Think about that. The founder's problem, according to his biggest investor, was insufficient craziness. SoftBank ultimately committed over $10 billion before the IPO even arrived. And WeWork spent like it. Locations in dozens of countries. A private school called WeGrow. Co-living apartments called WeLive. A $13 million stake in a wave pool company because Neumann loved surfing. The company reportedly bought a $60 million private jet. In January 2019, SoftBank led one more round, $1 billion, valuing WeWork at $47 billion. But here's what's easy to miss. That number wasn't set by a market. No stock exchange, no thousands of investors. Essentially, one man's conviction, priced in private. The $47 billion was an opinion. And in August 2019, that opinion had to face an audience that doesn't do vibes, the public markets. To go public, a company files a document called an S-1. Full financials, every risk, every conflict of interest. For the first time, the world got to read what was actually inside WeWork. It opened with the line, "We dedicate this to the energy of we." Wall Street laughed. Then it read the numbers and stopped laughing. In 2018, WeWork lost $1.9 billion on $1.8 billion in revenue. For every dollar coming in, more than $1 was going out. And this wasn't a young startup finding its feet. It was 9 years old and burning faster every quarter. The company had even invented its own profitability metric, community-adjusted EBITDA. Profit, after you subtract most of the actual costs of running the business. Analysts openly mocked it. Then came the governance section. And honestly, this is where it turns from a business story into a character study. Neumann had bought buildings personally and leased them back to his own company. He'd taken huge personal loans against his stock. And the company had paid him, this is real, $5.9 million for the trademark to the word we, his own company, paying him for the name. After the backlash, he returned it. His shares carried super voting rights, and at one point the succession plan implied his wife would help choose the next CEO if he died. Investors read all of it, and the bids collapsed. 47 billion became 20, then reportedly closer to 10. Quick aside, if you're enjoying this, subscribe. These deep dives take days to research, and it genuinely helps. 6 weeks after the S1 went public, the IPO was dead, pulled entirely, and in September 2019, under pressure from his own board and investors, Adam Neumann stepped down as CEO. But here's the twist people forget. WeWork was now so big and so indebted that its biggest investor couldn't afford to let it die. WeWork had signed tens of billions of dollars in future lease obligations. Without the IPO cash, it was reportedly weeks from running out of money. So SoftBank faced a brutal choice: walk away and vaporize its investment, or pour in billions more. It chose door 2. In October 2019, SoftBank took control with a rescue package valuing WeWork at around $8 billion, a roughly 80% markdown in 9 months. And the detail that made the world genuinely angry: Neumann's exit. His package was initially reported to be worth up to $1.7 billion, including a huge stock purchase and a $185 million consulting fee. It was later fought over in court and renegotiated down, but he still walked away extremely wealthy. Thousands of WeWork employees holding worthless options were laid off that winter. Masa's son later admitted to shareholders, in his own words, that his judgment on WeWork was poor in many ways. Then 2020 arrived, and a pandemic emptied every office on the planet. The one apocalypse scenario a company built entirely on office attendance could not survive. WeWork limped public anyway in October 2021 through a SPAC merger at about a $9 billion valuation. The stock did nothing but fall. And that brings us to the ending, and the number that still stings in Tokyo. November 6th, 2023. WeWork filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The stock closed as a penny stock. The company that was once worth $47 billion was valued at roughly $44.5 million. It reported around $15 billion in assets against $18.6 billion in debt, plus enormous long-term lease commitments. The core flaw from 2010 had never gone away: long-term rigid liabilities, short-term flighty customers. Cheap money had hidden it for a decade. Rising interest rates ripped the cover off. SoftBank's cumulative losses on WeWork were reported at over $14 billion, among the worst venture investments ever recorded. And Adam Neumann, in 2022, before WeWork even hit bankruptcy, Andreessen Horowitz reportedly invested $350 million in his new company, Flow, a residential real estate startup built on community. The man whose office space plus community company lost investors billions raised one of the largest seed checks in history for apartment space plus community. Here's the clean version of the autopsy. WeWork didn't die because co-working is fake. The industry still exists, and a restructured WeWork emerged from bankruptcy under new ownership in 2024. It died because of 3 compounding lies: a real estate company priced as tech, growth metrics dressed up as profits, and a founder with total control and zero accountability. Every layer of protection failed. The board deferred to the founder. The biggest investor demanded more craziness. And the private markets never asked the one question public markets ask on day one: how does this make money? $47 billion of value didn't vanish in 2019. It never existed. The S1 just made everyone admit it at the same time. WeWork shows what happens when a brand is built on hype. Next, the exact opposite: a company so obsessed with control that it steamrolls watches. Literally. That's the Rolex video, on your screen now.